insurance, and they're not married, they don't have any kids. 2 being they have no life insurance, they are married or do have kids. 3 being they have only work life insurance. 4 is they have some sort of term, and 5 was cash value. So just a recap of the process, right? On a KT, you're going to figure out which of the 5 scenarios that person is, because they're one of the 5. There's not a 6th, okay? You're going to do the corresponding presentation. We went over 4 last week, just did the 5th one. Again, you can get those presentations on Primerica Online, on my life insurance training that's on there. From the presentations, you're going to do tie-down questions on scenarios 1, 2, and 3. These are people that don't have life insurance, or they don't have life insurance that they currently have a substantial cost for, right? They either don't have it or they have it through work, right? Okay, so we went through those tie-downs. And then you do the A diagram to close. We went through that as well last time, right? Explaining the process to the client to get them to move forward. So about 70 to 80% of the time, if you're good at the presentations, people are going to move forward, okay? You need to be calm, assertive, right? You do the A diagram. What I'm going to need from you, Lynette, is your driver's license. I'm just going to ask you some questions real quickly. Yeah. I don't say, what do you think? I say, I don't say, how do you feel? I don't say, do you need to talk? I say, let's go ahead and get you started. Let me get your driver's license. I'm going to ask you some questions, right? Life insurance is a product that will always need to be sold. It is never bought, okay? Statistics show less than 1% of the life insurance bought in the United States is bought online, okay? Less than 1%. Folks, this is like the last industry on earth that is not being totally changed by the internet, right? Why? 2 reasons. Number 1 is a gross lack of education. So it's hard to make a decision on something you know absolutely 0 about, number 1. Number 2, even if they do know about it, it is a responsibility product. Nobody wants to spend money on things that are responsible. They want to spend money at the bar and at the movies and bowling. They don't want to spend money on things that they need to spend money on, like saving for retirement, protecting their family. Therefore, there's always going to be a need for an influence outside of themselves to take action on moving forward, right? Okay? So, this is a statement you need to put deep down into your heart. Stay in the close. Stay in the close, okay? Because statistics show about 80% plus of sales are made after the 4th no. However, almost 95% of salespeople will not get to a 4th no. Which means what? There's about 5% of salespeople that are getting the lion's share of sales, and everybody else is largely unsuccessful. Why? From this statement right here. Everybody else is afraid to stay in the close. I don't want somebody to think I'm being pushy. I don't like tension. I don't like feeling uncomfortable. Okay, and so they would exit and excuse themselves from the close rather than getting the person to move forward, right? So remember, what's the difference between pressure, right? I don't want to put pressure on somebody. I believe that it is impossible to pressure somebody into doing the right thing. I don't think that's possible, right? You can pressure somebody into doing the wrong thing, for sure, but I don't believe it's possible. So for those of you, right, that you have some form of sales reluctance, which is most of you in the room, truth be told, right? You have a negative image of sales. You don't want to be a pushy sales. These thoughts exist in your mind. You've got to eradicate those, or you're going to have a very hard time sitting in front of somebody and asking them persistently to move forward with something that is in their best interest and that they need to do, right? Okay, I've never felt bad asking you to pay money to protect your family. I've never felt bad. I never will feel bad, right? Because there's no do-over on this. You either did it right or you didn't do it right. Guess what, dum-dum? You're going to die 100% of the time, right? So you're either going to be prepared or not prepared. This is my thought. Yeah. I'm not calling them dum-dum, but that's my thought. That's this is happening sooner or later. Hopefully later, right? But it's coming. You can be prepared or not prepared. It's your choice. My job is I am paid to help you make the right choice. That's my job. I am paid in proportion to the amount of people I can help make the right choice, right? And in order to make the right choice, I go in prepared to stay in the close, okay? Because everybody wants what this is going to do for them, okay? Most people just don't want to think about that and would like to avoid making any sort of decision or commitment at all. Why? Because that's how people are. That's not a you thing. It's not a Primerica thing. It's not an insurance thing. That's how human beings are. They avoid commitment at all costs. Most people, right? Okay, they don't want to make decisions, and that's just human nature. So you can wish it was different, or you could prepare and learn how to handle it. So we're going to go through objections, all right? And what you've got to understand is, depending on the scenarios are going to have some slightly different objections, okay? So let's talk about scenario 1, which is what? No dependents, no life insurance. Okay? What do you do here to overcome their objections? The answer is nothing. If they're single, right? They're not married, they don't have kids, you've gone through the presentation, showed them the living benefit, etc. Does this make sense why you need to have this? Yes, blah, 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 blah. You tie them down. This is what I'd want, this is what I could afford, and they still object, run away. That's going to lapse. Right? Okay, so we're not going to overcome objections on the first scenario. Right? If they don't understand after you explaining to them, it is not worth your time and effort to try to help them understand any further. Okay? It's just going to come, the business is going to come back. All right, any questions on that? Okay, so scenario, oh, go ahead.
I just have a statement. Something I was unaware of is when I started working here, I have so much student loan debt that's private that my parents co-signed for. If I pass away, my parents are still responsible for my debt.
That's right.
Therefore, I have at least enough coverage to cover my debt. A lot of people don't know that. We think it goes away,
Sure,
and it doesn't. So
Nope.
Yeah, I do
with
that.
student debt where it's at, that's something I always bring up.
sure.
It's really good.
And that's a selling point, not necessarily an objection.
Correct.
Sure, absolutely. So you're just creating an additional line of value, right? Beyond the 3 things that we've already talked to them about, right? Okay. So
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Does that include people who, because you said if they have no dependents, does that include those who have dependents that do not live with them?
no,
Okay.
yeah. So that would fall under scenario 2, right? So scenario 2 is they do have some form of dependence, right? Okay. And no insurance. Okay, so there is a 5-step closing process that you need to be prepared to execute, okay? Because virtually every objection that's going to arise here is some form of a stall. These people are nuts. They have dependents, they have people that care about them, and they have no insurance, like they're going to live forever. It's craziness. They go to work every day to try to provide for these people, and yet leave themselves totally uncovered for a for sure guaranteed risk. It doesn't make any sense. You've got to be prepared to go to war with those folks to get them to move forward. Not for them, they're going to be dead. I don't care what they're interested in, right? I care what the people who can't provide for themselves are going to be interested in, and that's a pile of money to make sure their life doesn't turn into a disaster for the next 20 years, right? Okay, so I was taught when you run into this scenario, every action you take is in the best interest of those little kids that can't take care of themselves you see running around there, okay? And it doesn't matter what mom and dad think, because they're not going to be here when that thing gets paid out, right? Okay, does everybody understand that? That might sound harsh, but that's the reality. If you have kids or a spouse and no life insurance, you're a deadbeat right now, okay? And you might be that way because you're uneducated. I'm going to provide you that education. After you get that education, if you still don't want to move forward, something's wrong there, and I'm going to have to move you along that path. for the best interest of the people that we're taking care of, right? Okay? And I don't feel bad telling you that. That's just what it is, right? Okay, we have a responsibility to the people that we have made promises and commitments to in our life, especially those who cannot fend for themselves. Okay? So, it's always some form of a stall. Always. I need to think about it. I want to do some research. I want to talk to somebody. I'm going to get some other quotes. You name it. Okay? It's a stall. It's a stall. Why? Is there information about life insurance available? Easily accessible. Sure, right? Okay. They could have spent 5 minutes their entire life Google searching this and gotten enough information to make somewhat of a decision. Right? Can you apply for life insurance online? Sure you can. Right? Yet, in the entire time they've been alive, they have been unmotivated to spend that 5 minutes to do that, to take care of the thing they, quote, care about the most in their life. Right? Do you see the discrepancy here between their stated value and their actual values, right? If you leave them to think about it, what is the outcome of their thought going to be? This will stay the same. That's what their thinking is right now when they've met you, and that's what their thinking is going to be after they leave you. Why? Because that's how they think. The problem is their thinking is wrong, okay? And so that needs to be educated and corrected. Okay, does that make sense? All right, so close one is not decision day. So you've done the A diagram. You said, Valdine, let's go ahead and get you started. And they're like, you know what? We just really want a day or two to think about it. Is that okay? Right? Is that okay? And so you always answer an objection in 3 steps. Part A is what? Affirm the objection. You never agree with it, but you affirm it. Valdine, listen, I thank you so much for bringing that up. You know, I don't like making decisions right away either, right? Okay. Step B is answer, right? The great news, Valdine, is today's not decision day. All we're doing is applying, right? Getting you some free coverage started. When the policy comes back, 30, 60 days from now, then we'll make some decisions, okay? And step C is what? Close. So, Valdine, let me go ahead and get that driver's license. I'm going to get you started. Right? Okay? So today's not decision day, because guess what they really want? Do they want to screw their family over if something happens to them? No, they don't. Of course not. They're good people. They're just making bad choices. Right? Does this make sense? You got to make sure you delineate that. Right? And you don't want to ever think, oh, these people are just not good people. They're fine people most of the time. Okay? They're just making poor choices. Right? So they're afraid of making a choice and a decision in case they make the wrong decision. Well, I don't even care if you make the wrong decision. Some decision is better than no decision, right? Okay? And so all you're doing is you're helping to put that fear aside by allowing them to understand, again, Phil, listen, today's not decision day. So listen, Phil, I really appreciate you bringing that up. I don't like to make decisions right away either. The good news is today's not decision day. All we're doing is applying, right? And 30 to 60 days from now, when we get that policy back, we'll make some decisions, right? So let me go ahead and get that license from you. Let's get you started. I affirm, answer, close, okay? The second close is you have explained this to them, but their bad thinking is so ingrained that they just don't know anything else but to cling on to it. So yeah, I know that, but I want to pray about it. I want to do that. Okay, whatever they're saying, right? And we'll get into specific little one-liners that you can use on these niches, right? But it's some form of a more aggressive stall. Yeah. That's all it is. No matter what comes out of their mouth at this point, it's just a more aggressive stall. Okay, right? So it tends to have. It's shrouded in what they think you're going to buy as like wisdom or smart. Like, I understand, but I don't want to even start the process till I've decided on really whatever. You have some sort of thing that they're rationalizing to themselves about why they shouldn't make this clearly obvious good decision, right? Okay. So the second close is the college close, right? Which is, Kevin, listen, you know what? Again, I really appreciate that. Like I said, today's not decision day, but think about it like this. You ever go to college? Where'd you go?
Michigan.
Okay, you went to Michigan. Wonderful. So let me ask you a question, Kevin. When you applied to Michigan, did they have to let you in?
No.
They were under no obligation to take you, right? Okay. Now, conversely, once you got in, did you have to go there?
No.
You could have gone somewhere else, not at all. It's your choice, right? Now, think about it like this. What you did is you applied, they looked at you, and then they made you an offer, and then you either accept the offer or move on, right? Would it make sense to get a condo in Ann Arbor, tattoo Go Blue on your arm, and then apply to see if you get in? No, you'd apply, you'd get an offer, you'd accept the offer, and then you'd start doing some more research about where to live and all this stuff, right? Okay, because doing all that first before you got in would be kind of putting the cart before the horse, right?
Correct.
Okay, so that's exactly what we're talking about here. I appreciate that you want to think about it. There's absolutely nothing more to think about until we get you a policy back. You have every piece of information available here. Right? Does that make sense? So let's get you started. Let's get a policy back so you have some information to evaluate. Okay? So let me grab that driver's license from you. Does that make sense? So all you're doing is you're trying to help them think about something else that's not related to this as a similar process. So yeah, that would be stupid to buy a condo in Ann Arbor assuming I'm going to get in before I even apply. I would apply, make sure I get an offer I like, and then I'll start doing some other stuff, right? Okay? But in their mind, they want to do all this stuff first and then come back, which is how often is that going to happen, by the way? Never.
Not gonna happen.
Right? They think they're smoking you out, right? They go, here's a fancy line of BS. This guy's going to buy this one, a hook, line, and sinker, right? Okay? It's never going to happen, okay? So you've got to go and hit them with that college close, right? So I want you to listen to the tonality and the phrasing, right, Kevin? Right? When you applied to Michigan, did they have to let you in? I'm making sure they're very clear on a couple of points here. No, right? They don't have to let you in. When you got in, did you have to go there?
No.
Well, no, you're right. You could go somewhere else or not at all. It would be your decision. This process is the exact same. We're going to apply. They may not even let you in. Mm-hmm. Once you get in, you may not want to proceed with it based on the terms of that. But we won't know that till we apply. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
Wonderful. Let's go ahead and take that application, Kevin. Let me get your driver's license. Does that make sense? So the fewer the words, the better. The more choice those words are, the better, right? I'm trying to drill home a point. You need to apply before you get any more information to make a decision. I appreciate you want more information. No amount of thinking about this is going to get you any more information than you have right here. Right? Does that make sense? Okay. The third close is the A-B close. An objection at this point is really now a dug-in, heels planted stall. I know it's right. I know I need to do this. I know my family's depending on it. I'm just not going to. Right? Let's get the coloring book out here for our 5-year-old friend, okay? So, here's how you do this, right? So Tanya says this to me, and so I always affirm, answer, close, right? So Tanya, listen, you know, I definitely hear you. I totally appreciate what you're saying there. And before I show you this, I just want you to understand, I just hope you don't feel like I'm being pushy with you at all. That's not my intention at all. I'm just trying to do my job to help you understand why this is important. So I'm gonna I'm gonna calm them down, because what I'm gonna say to somebody who doesn't like commitments, they're going to feel some pressure there. Am I pressuring them? No. Their conscience is pressuring them. Right?
Yes.
I'm just giving them info. Their conscience is the one making them feel bad because they know it's right. They just won't take action. It's an internal conflict that I'm poking at a little bit. Right? So Tanya, listen, I totally appreciate that. And I want you to know I understand how you feel. I felt that way too. And I really also want you to know this. I just really don't want you to feel like I'm being pushy with you at all. Okay? Because that's not my intention whatsoever. But I do want to educate you on this and make sure you understand. So, Tanya, let me make sure I hear what you're saying. What it sounds like to me that you're saying is, Ian, this is good. I know I need to do this. I know I want to do this. But I just can't make a decision. I need to think about it. Is that what I hear you saying?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So I'm going to repeat back to them their concern, because that shows them empathy. I'm listening to you and understanding what you're saying. I'm not giving you sympathy, which is letting you off the hook. I'm giving you empathy, which is I'm understanding you and still trying to help you make a good choice, right? Okay. So Tanya, what you're telling me is you just want some time to think about it, right? Okay. So Tanya, let me draw something for you. Okay. So we really got two options. Option A, option B. Whether we apply today or don't apply today, you're probably going to think about this, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So either way, we're going to be thinking about it, right?
That's good.
Now, Tanya, listen. Either way, whether we apply today or don't apply today, it's free, right? You don't apply, it's free. You apply, put some money in escrow, and it doesn't go forward, you get it back. Either way, it's free. It's the same cost, right? Tanya, in way A, your family is covered for $500K while you're thinking about it. In way B, your family is covered for $0 when you're thinking about it. Tanya, let me ask you a question. Which way, A or B, better protects your family while you're thinking about this?
A.
Okay? I'm tying you down, right? Okay? These guys generally will get a guilty smile, and they know you've caught them. You've caught them, right? There's no way out from this, right? Okay? Other than, I know, but I'm just not going to do it, right? Okay? There's really no way out for somebody who really does care, right? Okay? So that is a tie-down close, all right? So which way better takes care of your family, A or B? Obviously A. Great. Tanya, listen. You know this is the right thing. Deep down inside, you know it's the right thing. I know it's the right thing. I know you're a little concerned because you've never done it before. I'm not concerned at all. Let's go ahead and get you started. Okay? That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Step 4. is the funeral close. So steps 1, 2, and 3 are logic based. Okay? Step 4 is now emotion based. If they don't respond to logic, you are not dealing with somebody who is operating in a logical realm. You're dealing with somebody who is operating in a feelings realm. So that's fine. Once I understand that you are not open to reason, then I'm going to go in and I'm going to play at your level. I'm going to go and you're playing emotionally. I'm going to play emotionally too, right? So I close up my binder. I say, Tanya, again, I just really want you to understand. I don't want you to feel like I'm being pushy with you because it's just really not my intention here at all. But stop and think about this for a second, Tanya. Let's pretend for a second, 4 or 5 doors down, I met a couple similar to you and Jeremy, same ages, same amount of kids, kind of have the same income. I'm over there, I'm talking to them about this for a refundable escrow at $80, they'd be covered. And they're kind of telling me the same thing, I want to think about it, even though they know they should do it. And so I leave, and 2 weeks later, that man unexpectedly dies. And you guys are there at the funeral home. I'm there at the funeral home. There's hundreds and hundreds of people. It's totally unexpected, just a tragedy. And we walk in there, and you look around at these hundreds of people, I bet you any amount of money, at least once, if not more than once, every single person in that funeral parlor wonders this question. Gosh, I hope he had some life insurance, right? All of them. If all of them had that thought, it's obviously pretty important, right? Tanya, imagine for a second you see the widow's mom and dad, right? Feeling devastated for her, seeing those kids. And they find out I was at their house 2 weeks earlier. And instead of bringing a casserole, I would be bringing a check for $500,000. So their kids could stay in the house and their daughter could move on with life. And they found out that they just wanted to think about it. I didn't ask. They would find me in there and they would grab my shirt. They say, why didn't you ask them again? Why didn't you stay in their house until they buy? Why didn't you go into her purse, get the checkbook, and put a pen in her hand? Why didn't you ask again? Why did you walk out of that house without allowing him to get this started? If you ask, Tanya, the 300 people that are at that funeral home, and you said, for $80 refundable deposit, they'd be getting a check for $500,000 right now. How many of those 300 people, Tanya, would say, I'm sure glad he kept his $80 and isn't getting a check for $500,000? That was a good choice. How many of the 300 in hindsight would say that was the right choice?
None.
0 of them. Tanya, hindsight's always what? 20/20, right? You and I both know this is the right thing to do. Let's get you started. Let me get your driver's license. Okay? I'm going to bring it home to them a little bit. Notice what I'm not doing. I'm not saying, what happens if you die and I'm at your funeral? Okay? It's somebody else. But I'm going to take them through emotionally the exact same thing. And that tie down at the end is the most important thing. Tanya, if those 300 people found out for a refundable escrow of whatever the number is, they'd have gotten a check for $500,000, how many of them would look back and say, I'm glad they didn't do that. I'm glad they got their $80. None of them, right? Okay. So hindsight is always what, Tanya? 20/20. Let's make the right choice. Feel the atmosphere even in this room after going through that, right? It's if you're gonna play in an emotional state with me, I'm gonna meet you there because I care about what happens to your family. I don't need any more money. You don't buy from me, I don't care financially, right? But I do care about your family, right? Because you're gonna be screwed, and I'm not coming to help. Neither is nobody else, right? Okay, so yeah, you can have $6,000 in GoFundMe, right?
How this one is presented is really, really important. I know you touched on it, but I've sat with people that had this objection, this emotional response, and this wasn't presented well. It was when I was brand new. And I lost it. I lost the clothes because I wasn't attached to them emotionally. So the presentation that you're like, that's one of the things I've really picked up on lately.
It takes some time, right? So
you can't just hurry through it. Like, imagine if I was your neighbor and blah 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 blah. Blah. Like,
slow and low tone of voice, slow and low tone of voice, and it just takes practice. But here's the good news: the better you get at the front, the fewer times you get here. I've been in that close 10, 12 times my entire life. Because I'm going to close you before then, most of the time. Because I'm pretty good at the front end. Right? If you're bad at the front end, you get further down the back end before you get people moving forward, right? Okay, but you need to be prepared. You need to be prepared for that to be able to what? Stay in the close. Okay, if they don't respond to this, 5 is what I call the last ditch. The last ditch effort. You close it up. Tanya, Jeremy, listen, I just want to apologize to you because I have not been able to do a good enough job explaining to you why this is so important. I just feel really badly that that's happened, you know. And so I really appreciate your time. I'm packing up my stuff. You know, Jeremy, can I ask you just one quick question? Because, you know, this is what I do for a living. It's so important to me that families make the right choice and get taken care of. I just don't want to make the same mistake again with somebody else. Jeremy, can you tell me, what's the real reason that you didn't move forward today? And I'm going to try to get some form of an objection from them, because I haven't found the real objection. Because if the real objection is I don't want to make a decision, I'd have finished it here. If the real objection is I'm really trying to stall on you, I'd have finished it here. Right? So I haven't found the real objection. So I'm packing up. I'm apologizing to them for not doing a good enough job to be able to help them. You know, this is what I do for a living. It's so important to me, Jeremy, that I help families make the right choice. I just don't want to make the same mistake again. Would you mind telling me what's the real reason you didn't move forward today? Just so I know, so I don't make the same mistake with somebody else. Okay? And I'm going to get something, and hopefully the real objection is brought forward, and now I have a chance to overcome it. Right? Okay? If after that, pack your bags, like Jesus said, dust off your sandals and move to the next town. Right? Okay? Because they didn't receive you in the town that you were in. Right? Okay? Does this make sense? All right, very good. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to pair up with somebody different than you had before, and you're going to go through twice each the entire line of the 5 objections.
Okay.
Twice each. Pair up with somebody new.